So on day 2 of the D-Rose Sneaker Challenge, we're going to look at a D-Rose 2 that I've never reviewed before. So which D-Rose 2 might that be? Well, if you've been on the channel long enough, you can narrow it down because there's not very many colorways of the Rose 2s that I haven't done reviews on. Well, actually, that's not fully true. There's actually tons of colorways because that was a college colorway that they did college team colorways for that shoe. But this one was a shoe that was released as like a mass, like regular release to the public, and it's actually like a Christmas Rose 2. And some people call this the Gucci D Rose 2, other people call this just the alternative Christmas colorway, but it's these right here. These shoes have been very elusive for me to find for a long time. I looked up and found these on eBay, I think last year, in a half size up, but as you can see, in pretty decent condition. And so that being the case, I was like, well, I mean, heck, I don't mind, getting these and like buying them even though they're a half size up, because like I'm not gonna say they're one of my grails, but they're definitely one of the Rose 2s I've always wanted because I love that it had the color placement on here on the stripes like this, and the way the material looks here on this upper on like the synthetic leathers and the sprint web upper here gives like this this line like hardwood finish to it, which is kind of cool. And it's something I've always kind of found neat. So when it comes to the Rose 2s, let's trip back down memory lane. This was the very first Rose shoe I ever did a review of. It was of the D Rose 2 in the home colorway. And something I always loved about the D Rose 2s is that this shoe kind of just had a different aesthetic look to it than the ones, in the sense that it kind of had this more clean look and finish from the toe box, which is always kind of neat and nice because there was no perforations on the toe box compared to like the Rose 1s. The 1.5s have a couple, but most people will see, the 1.5s have a little bit better of a cleaner toe look than the 1s. The other thing I liked about these two was this mid cut was actually pretty neat. I liked how much padding was around the ankle. It felt really nice and plush, and this was a massive sprint frame, which some people really didn't like because of how the sprint frame, some people, claim it digs into their ankles and stuff like that. I thankfully still never really had that problem with the Rose 2s. But I will say the Rose 2s was a shoe that like I enjoyed playing in a decent amount, but it was definitely not my favorite of the Rose line that year. The 2.5s ended up being my favorite Rose shoe because of the traction on them, the way the ankle pillows were set up on that shoe, just still fond memory. So Adidas, if you're watching, retro those sometime soon. I mean, you've been doing a lot of the resto mods for 1.5s. I mean, put some bounce in the 2.5s. Yeah, that shoe would still go off to this day. And what's kind of funny too is looking at the fact that this is a mid cut. Derek back then, a lot of his shoes, of course, have been staying as high tops, but he wanted more of a mid for this shoe, and so they gave that to him, which is very neat. This shoe had the whole thing of like the marketing of the all flights canceled, but Chicago was cleared for takeoff, which they showed here on the tongue itself with it saying all flights canceled. You have Derek's signature here on the side where it also has it printed there too. The 3 stripes here on the back supposed to be the last thing you see as D-Rose blows past you, and this time they had it wrapped around both sides of the sprint frame instead of just being up the back heel, which I still find very cool. Sprint web for the upper. This is part of the whole Adizero line still, so I like all those Adizero aesthetic pieces to it, which was neat. And of course, some people complain about the fact you can see through the shoe. I can literally see the lens through this right now, but I never found it to be a huge issue. The outsole on here was a little interesting. So the storytelling of this outsole is that this piece right here is meant to be like the lava that flows through, because Derek's game is so explosive, it's like lava. So this splattered traction pattern surface was engineered based off of that, and it's meant to provide a pretty solid traction pattern. I found it to be good for outdoor courts. Indoor courts, not as much. I wasn't a huge fan of how these like gripped for indoors. They weren't horrible, but they weren't fantastic either, at least in my memory. I could be wrong. Maybe I should go back down memory lane and find out what I thought of them. But yeah, the big thing on these was that they did have that whole pivot point section set up on here, similar to what you saw on the Crazy Light 1s, which eventually though will be adopted into the Rose 2.5s. A lot of times when I look at the 2.5s versus the Crazy Light 1s, the 2.5 was, I think, the evolution of what the Crazy Light really could have been when you gave it some more performance features and you gave it more padding, more cushioning. and that made it, of course, a little bit heavier, but still was a fantastic shoe. But I'm talking too much about the 2.5s, not enough about the 2s. Overall, this is a shoe that I really just liked a lot. It's always been a very aesthetically pleasing shoe from the Rose line, and that's something I've always liked about it. Even again, I like the storytelling pieces on here as well, with having his jersey number on there too. These insoles inside here are also fun. I think this still has, yep. So one, Adidas used to give us these real thick insoles, which were nice. But you also see on here where it says, you had Los Angeles, Miami, Boston, Denver, Charlotte, Oklahoma, and New York. This gives you an idea of the landscape of the NBA at the time as to what teams were, the really hard teams to beat. And all their flights were canceled, but Chicago was cleared for takeoff, which I love. Again, that's still one of the coolest storytelling pieces to this shoe. These shoes also, I believe, actually, you know what? We got the box for it here. I didn't even talk about this all. So, of course, you got the classic Adidas Performance Line box. But inside here, the original owner of these, I won't show their information on there, but it has the original East Bay paper in here. And so these retailed for, 110. 117 after taxes. And yeah, this was December 22nd, 2011. Wow. What a long time ago. But it's cool that this was still in there because it's nice. I like, being able to keep and hold on to something like that. The one thing I don't remember, guys, is if the other side has anything different on it. So, of course, I had it back on the clock sitting there. And actually, the insole here is the exact same. So, yeah, there's no difference between the two insoles. Even though when you look at, I have sitting down here, the other Christmas Rose 2, or the, more widely known Rose 2. There's sole separation happening on there? No. Okay, for a second I put it, I was like, no! I gotta get another pair. But yeah, the Rose 2s, this, was the L trains. One side had all the flights canceled on it, and then the other side had the, Chicago cleared for takeoff on the other one. But the insole there had the L train, the actual route that it takes in Chicago, which is cool. But yeah, so a lot of people again refer to this one as the D Rose 2 Gucci. I really did this colorway. The Gucci colors, obviously you can see implemented through here. Other people call these the alternate Christmas. So whichever we want to call them, you can choose. If you guys don't like whatever I decide when I upload the video today, it's all right. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching our review of mine. I really appreciate the support you guys give with me and the channel. And yeah, look forward to another video tomorrow. And until then, guys, peace. I'll see you around later. Bye.